Today's webinar is sponsored by Mars 5, 4, and 3-star sponsors. Are we putting up a graphic? Yeah, sorry. I'm a little out of sorts on this, so y'all bear with me. So please use our sponsors and support those who so graciously support us. Our webinar today is going to provide you with an update from the National Association of Realtors, Tennessee REALTORS Leadership, a recap of our recent RPAC-a-thon that happened this week, insights from Mars Commercial Council, and we'll wrap up things with an economic update from Waddell and Associates. So feel free to send any questions in the Q&A or the chat feature. How I want to do that today is with each segment, if you have questions for any of our presenters, put it in the Q&A and chat feature while they're on doing their segment, so that at the end of the segment I can field those questions to them. We are bringing each one of our presenters in from an attendee to a panelist, so that would be best for being able to get your questions answered then, as opposed to at the end of the webinar. So, so just keep that in mind if you have questions about NAR or Tennessee Realtors, just to field those questions as that conversation is going on. Okay, so we were going to play a video from National Association of Realtors President Vince Malta. We did our test run yesterday and there was technical difficulties with that, so we are going to put the video, link to the video in the chat below, so that everyone can please watch that. It's a great video. NAR has been putting a lot of great content out for us during this time. So, so without any further ado, I'd like to go ahead and ask, invite and bring over Bob Turner, National Association of Realtors Chairman of the Commercial Federal Policy and MARPAS President. He's going to join us today and give us a NAR update.
Good
hey,
morning.
Bob. Morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. How's everybody doing?
Well, I'm good, other than the internet letting me down, but such is life.
Well, everybody's using so much of it, it's hard to get all these meetings done.
I know.
I was sitting here with a meeting on my iPad at the same time we were doing this in the different world.
Multitasking.
Just turned it off. Well, good morning, everybody. I don't know who all's on here. Let's see. We've got about 38 people, looks like. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to give you part of Vince's update and some other information that I know that's going on at NAR. Our staff at NAR has never quit since day one of this coronavirus environment that we started in. Started out with PPP and all the other acronyms that came along on funding and support for our members and everything else. And I can tell you that I actually talked to staff members at 10, 11 o'clock at night during all that time, feeding them information, and they never quit. They've done a great job. Really happy how our whole organization and industry has worked together. So if you need any kind of updates, you can go to NAR's website. They're all there. Anything to do with coronavirus, they've got updates, priority update issues. They've got sheets and all you can go by. Our leadership is very engaged. Vince and Charlie and Leslie and John Smaby, Bob Goldberg, all of them are on meetings all the time. Every time I text one of them, they're on a meeting. They're having leadership meetings literally every other day or so, just staying in touch with everybody, trying to keep everything going the right way. It's really hard for our members not to engage with each other because we depend on each other so much with sharing information, sharing how work's going, issues in the country, and so it's kind of hard to do right now when you're distance away from everybody and doing what we're doing right now. But it's all going good at NAR. I'm very proud of it, and it will keep going good. So some of our issues that we're dealing with right now are continuing funding for small businesses. Some of our industry is not doing well, and they need help, and we keep pushing our legislators in Washington to get something done. It's not a good environment there, but we have to deal with what we have. We've got remote notary they're working on, which I know a lot of us use and are still using. Some of the attorneys are remote themselves, going to closings, doing notaries, but we're working on that. Mortgage liquidity, making sure our mortgage markets, which are some of the best we've ever had now, have plenty of liquidity and they don't get slowed down by not having the money available. Forbearance and eviction, you know, we've got a real problem in the big cities that evictions are looming, and where are they going to go and what are they going to do? And So there's a lot of talk going on from all different sides. You know, we represent private property rights, and you've got renters' rights and you got private property rights, and which side do you take, and do you take all sides? And so it's a lot of discussion, and there's many people that have different sides that are talking about this. Business liability, you know, what are issues if somebody comes into your business and gets sick? What's going on with that? So there's a lot of issues that we got to deal with. Expansion of opportunity zones. There's a lot of talk with Cory Booker and Tim Scott, who led the charge on opportunity zones to expand it. They're talking about changing some of the areas that were designated because they don't feel like some of those were done right. So that we'll see how that plays out probably after the election. And one of the main problems we have right now that's affecting us is lumber prices. I don't know how many of y'all have even heard of this yet, but lumber for building new houses, it is front and center. I'll give you an exact example. On the houses we're building in our subdivision in Millington, our lumber package in February of this year was $23,000. That's all the framing lumber to build the house. Today, it's over $50,000. So if you priced a house you had sold at $320,000, and that contract was written for a pre-sale before all this happened in the last 6 to 8 weeks is when it really jumped. You have just gone to making zero on that property if you honor that contract. That's how much it increased. The supply problem is with the mills. The mills are not buying supplies to keep on hand so they can supply the builders as they request lumber packages. The price on timber has not gone up and or down, and that part of it is what's driving it. I'm directly in touch with the White House on this. The Home Builder Association is directly in touch with the White House. We've been emailing back and forth. There's a gouging going on by the mills, and there's an issue with tariffs from Canada. So we've asked the White House to do something. They met with Navarone, Secretary Navarone, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Navarro, however you pronounce it. They met with him last Friday, and we think something's coming very, very soon to help correct this, because it affects our housing supply all over the country. So just pay attention. If you're looking at new homes and home supply, there's going to be a big change there. So I want to tell you the real story real quick of what's going on in the world today. Large cities versus small cities. The large cities, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, places like that, they're in deep trouble. People are leaving in droves. They're tired of what's going on. They're tired of not being able to live. I'll give you an example. In New York, they're moving to Connecticut, and they're moving to New Jersey in droves. Our realtors there are as busy as they can be. They've got people standing in line to buy houses, and the prices are going up. New York realtors are still doing okay because they're selling whatever they got there at whatever price they can get and get out. Same thing in Chicago, same thing in San Francisco. Memphis is in a good position. We're one of the markets we're not hurt so bad. But as across the nation, our realtors are on top of the heap, y'all. Last time this happened, we were at the bottom of the totem pole. This time we're in a good position. If you're out doing business, you're making money. You're probably making more money than you've ever made. Most of the people I talk to across the country are literally making more money than they've ever made in their history of their career, because they are so busy and they're working and they're making money, which is great. But we've got to keep it all going, and we've got to keep working and doing the right things. And, you know, we got to be able to adapt. We got to be able to make it through. We got to find inventory. We got to build inventory and make sure things are done right. But we are, homes are selling in hours, not days. In a lot of areas in Phoenix, they'll have 30 or 40 people standing in line as soon as they open the door to view a house. It's unbelievable what's going on. Land is in high demand. Restaurants are even looking to move into new locations. You don't hear much about that, but our market is really good. And for one time, the realtors are on top of the heap, and that's really good for our industry. And I'm proud of what we're doing, and I'm proud of our people and NAR. So I'll leave it at that. And if you got any questions, you want to put them in the chat box, I'll be glad to try to answer any of them.
Thanks, Bob. Does anybody have any questions for Bob here? I appreciate you being here. it's always such good information, and I don't necessarily see anybody ask any questions, but I'm going to give it just one more second. And I'm sorry that now I'm like sticking my finger up to look at all this stuff. It's like worst case scenario here, but I think these are just comments thanking you from a couple of attendees and explaining the building costs. That is one thing that I think that people don't realize going into new construction sometimes, is that materials have gone up exponentially for years now, but now it's just been terrible. So
yeah, and Memphis also has a huge expansion and development that we've never seen. Probably the best in 40, 50 years in Memphis. Apartments, industrial, everything. So our whole market is working, which is great.
Yeah, I do have a question here. So what about steel price for commercial buildings? Same as lumber, or you haven't seen the same kind of issues with steel?
It hasn't been as bad as lumber. We're actually pricing some stuff now, and we'll determine that shortly. But I haven't heard anybody really complaining about steel going up. All prices are going up right now, whether it's plumbing or anything else. Everything's going up because times are good. People can get the more money. There's a demand for it. So yes, everything's going up, but nothing like lumber. Lumber's the main thing. Now, another issue that's coming is appliances. The appliances are shut down by a coronavirus. They're not making them. If you need a stove today, good luck. It may be before you can go buy one. So that's part of the issues too. Supplies just aren't there.
It is. My husband bought me a freestanding freezer for my birthday. That's what I wanted for my birthday. I still can't get it. Like, it's been almost 7 months since my birthday, but yeah, I'm gonna get that freezer. It's gonna happen. So, but it sounds like that's about all the questions I have. I haven't got. I just want to check and make sure. But thank you for being here. We appreciate you, everything that you do, and keeping us on top of things with NAR. It's always great to hear you speak. So thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate it. All right. So next up, we're going to have our Tennessee Realtors. Hagen Stone, president of Tennessee Realtors, is here with us with his team. I'm going to let him introduce all of his folks when they all get in here. And as he does they do their presentation, I'm going to hide my video since I can't, get out of here for this. Then I'm just going to hide my video so that you can do your thing, and I'm not gawking in the background. So how's it going, Hagen? How are you?
Hey, great. No problem. Thanks, Catherine. I'm excited to be here today with you all. I'm supposed to have a virtual background that pops up immediately, and it's not happening. So sorry, we're continuing the technical difficulties here.
Yeah,
I am happy. That's okay. And I am happy that I was able to fit into my jacket and tie again after many months of not wearing one. But looking forward to sharing with you all a little bit. Normally, as you know, we do these road shows. We did one last year. It was very successful in person with our leadership teams coming in. And this year, we're adapting to the COVID environment. I'd like to, number one, stay on track because I know you all have a very robust agenda today. But I want to introduce, first off, our officers that are here with us today from our executive committee. The first is Alex Bynum, our president-elect from Dresden. Travis Close, our first vice president from Signal Mountain. Kathy Tucker, our immediate past president from Chattanooga. And the two, and also Regina Hubbard, our treasurer from Memphis, who you all know very well. And our two DVPs, both from Memphis, Lauren Whiff and Greg Lawson. Greg is off teaching today, so I'm going to take his part in the program. But we want to share with you a little bit about what's going on across the state. There's some things you might want to take note of when it comes to your calendars and just some timely updates from what's been going on behind the scenes since the first of the year. So I'm going to turn this over to Alex and let him go ahead and share with you, and we'll go from there.
All right, good morning. How are you all? So this is a little bit different because, of course, it's the virtual thing, and you can't get that feedback from everybody and be able to see everybody's face to kind of get a good temperature of the room. But I would tell you that first off, I want to thank Hagen for all he's done. This is the first time that we've done this virtually, and so as and Hagen's flipping upside down. And so, it's one of those things that, this is our first time, so bear with us. We know that we've got a time slot here and we're going to try to work through this, but Hagen's done a great job this year. I hope everybody understands that it's been a turf year for everybody, but Hagen's done an awesome job of making sure not only executive team, but Tennessee Realtors has been at the forefront, and that, he's done everything he could to make sure that we still stayed on track to get the goals accomplished that we needed to get done. And, I'm just very proud not only to call Hagen my president, but a friend of Tennessee Realtors. And I'm just very proud of him for that. The first thing that, we never really thought that we would be in the situation that we're in at the beginning of the year. Everybody knows that. Everybody's talking about it. But, as Bob kind of talked about with NAR, same thing goes with Tennessee Realtors. I'm just proud to see how everybody kind of overcame the adversity and tried to make do and tried to make things right, try to figure out and, really innovative ways to make things work for their clients. And that just shows good testament to, what we do. We are professionals, and we really step to the forefront to make sure that we're taking care of our clients, either on the buying and selling side through virtual, through virtual home shows, through virtual, closings, to everything. And that's just, I'm very proud of our association and our members for that. For the month of August, home sales were at 10,864, a slight rise of 1.8% from last August. But home sales volume was at 3.4 billion across the state. That's up 15.6%. The median home price was at 264,000, which is up 12.3%. Active listings were at 37,382, which is down 22.1% from last year. And I know it goes without saying that inventory is just extremely tight. That's a crazy drop in inventory of 22.1%. And I hope you all understand, and we all understand that it's just a very, very, very hard time. And even Bob, when Bob talked about the cost of building supplies, that's going to even make it worse, and we understand that. So on the commercial side, one of our priorities has been to increase our service to the commercial broker. When we did a survey of brokers, 25% of the brokers across Tennessee identified their primary practice as commercial, and 42% of those respondents said that they had been in the industry for 21 years or longer, which is practicing commercial real estate. And that was a pretty astounding number to us. We know that over the next year that we are still going to focus on making our association more commercial friendly. We feel as though that's very important to our association, to our members, to do that. And of course, Bob already talked about opportunity zones. Of course, you can use RPR to figure out where those opportunity zones are at. So without further ado, I think I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Travis and let Travis give you an update.
Thank you, Alex. So as you guys know, in Memphis, one of the most important roles that we play is legislative and regulatory advocacy. Our team in Nashville keeps a close eye on everything that's going on with state laws, TREC rules, legal and ethics updates, and everything else. So some of the key issues that we've kind of been dealing with in this past session include local impact fees, taxes, protests, COVID-19 liability. And so one of the things that we were really proud of this last year, or this last session, is that our lobbying team was able to get real estate in Tennessee included in as one of the essential services with Governor Lee. And for any of you that have talked to realtors in other states, you know how important that was for us to get that. But then, we've also this last year repealed the professional privilege tax for brokers beginning this year. So that saves you $400 a year for that. So it's been a pretty good, legislative session, even in the middle of everything that's been going on. The one thing I want you to do is mark your calendars for the Tennessee Realtor Day on the Hill. That's Wednesday, February 17th in Nashville. So that's when, for those of you that were there last year, it's where everybody from the state comes in. We bus people over. I love the new setup of the way that we did it this last year. So should be interesting to see this next year, how everything goes. And then, you know, we tie that in with the Excel Summit. And, you know, so hopefully we'll be able to do that this next year like we did this last year. But we're keeping tabs on that, and there'll be more updates going out on all the events coming up this next year. On a national level, we're kind of keeping an eye on the national flood insurance, the role of Fannie and Freddie, short-term rentals, fair and affordable housing, property taxes, income taxes. Obviously, this year, some of those priorities have changed because of COVID-19. But we're especially grateful that NAR's worked hard to ensure that the realtors were among those included in the CARES Act and loan programs that came out of the pandemic out of Washington. So just, you know, to this next year, hopefully we'll all be able to get together in DC, and we encourage that you guys attend, you know, the legislative meetings in May, as well as the annual conference in the fall. NAR's virtual annual conference is coming up this November, and you can go to the conference.realtor for more information and to register. And that is all that I have. And sorry, I guess Regina? I'm sorry, Kathy.
Morning. I'm going to talk to you all this morning about advocacy. It is so important to invest in the Realtor Political Action Committee. I know that many of you are already investors, and we have many major investors on the line. I would like to recognize you and thank you very much. You already know that RPAC makes a positive difference at the local, state, and national levels. Advocacy ensures that we have a place at the table in the halls of power. In 2019, for the very first time, we raised over $1 million in annual RPAC investments in Tennessee. We are at about 815,000 right now. Great going, Hagen. This is very strong, especially in the light of the impact of COVID-19. And we would love to go past $1 million by the end of this year. Again, big thanks to all who invest in RPAC. We want to keep the momentum going. I encourage you to invest and to inspire all others to invest as well. Thank you so much.
All right. Hagen, nobody can hear you.
You're muted.
All right. Well, thanks, Kathy. Now I feel better now. Thanks for sharing that with us. And I know that you're going to have a local update here in a minute from our Packathon. Would love to turn the podium over, the virtual podium, to Ms. Regina Hubbard, your 2020 treasurer.
Hagen, she's not here, so Alex is going to do that.
Oh, Alex. Okay. I'm sorry about that. She's also teaching. The one good thing about MAR is you all raise up some good instructors, and we have to work sometimes with their schedule on teaching. So go ahead, Alex. I forgot about that.
I know that everyone is very disappointed that it's not Regina talking, and it has to be me, especially apparently Hagen, since he didn't have any interest in me talking this morning. So first off, we'd like to thank Miss Janice Robertson of Chattanooga. She was our Good Neighbor Award, Tennessee Good Neighbor Award winner last year, and it's because she started the snack pack program there in Chattanooga, which was a very great program, and you know, we honor Miss Janice for that, and that was such a very special time. We also want to tell you that you need to look forward to the second Good Neighbor Award that's going to come out in 2021. Please keep an eye out for the application that's going to be coming out. Please apply. You know, remember that the Good Neighbor Award, I would say this real quick, is that the Good Neighbor Award is not for the person who is the most active in your local association. Go out in your association, find the people who are active and doing great things for your community, and they don't have to be the person that's there all the time. Please make sure that you try to find your people in Memphis, because I know that, you know, there's probably some people that are doing some very special things that need to be, you know, and need to be rewarded for that. So please try to find those people. Remember, they don't have to be the person that's at every meeting and doing all that, the person who's making the biggest impact in your community. The second thing is that you've got the Broker Summit. Broker Summit is coming up next week, and you know, it is open to brokers, managing brokers, board presidents, and AEs. We also have just announced that we are making the summit available to other members who would like to tune in, which is great, which is awesome that we're going to allow that. We have a great lineup, some great guest speakers. You know, visit the website at Tennessee or tnrealtors.com to register, and please remember that it is free. So please ask you know, the members of your association to come join in and get some good education and get to hear some good speakers. So I guess now I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Lauren.
Hi, everybody. Well, so I am going to do the Division 1 kind of update. This is, first of all, we are so proud to offer a number of programs to all of our membership across the state. Obviously, these include all the services you're already using, like the forms library, transaction desk, but also we've got legal and ethical guidances, advocacy, education, and so much more. Another way we seek to enrich our membership is through our Infinity Partnerships, which is the member valued perks, the MVP. The page on our website lists all of our vendor partners. One of the biggest, I think, and I've used this so many times, is our partnership with Office Depot and Office Max. There are so many discounts that come through your membership, so make sure to look on the website for more information on how to utilize that. Another benefit of membership is being plugged into the important events and updates, obviously. We work really hard to be able to communicate with all of our membership. We have the weekly new e-letter, the digest, our website. Just going to the tnrealtors.com website is great as well. Facebook, Twitter. We have our Insta account. Also, please let us know if you have any other questions about any of our member services. Another thing that I'd like to make sure that you know about is the 2020 virtual fall convention. You know, this year we were so excited to be able to partner with our region for Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, to be able to come together and have a Region 4 conference. But obviously these times, pandemic, so we don't get to do that. So what we have done, however, is leadership made a decision to pivot to a virtual Tennessee only convention. And we are really excited about this as well. The convention will be on October 12th to the 14th, and it'll be via Zoom. There are some amazing CE classes and sessions available, inspiring guest speakers, one of which is, and I texted Hagan on this, is Mark McKinnon, who is in the circus, and he has been a political insider forever, and I am a huge fan. He's totally bipartisan, even though he's worked for Republicans, he's worked for Democrats, but he's a great speaker. I'm sorry, I'm really excited about him. And some other awards, some officers and office installations, and more. The convention fee for non-CE attendees is free and $25 per CE class. You can learn more and register on tnrealtors.com/fall convention. It's on the front page as soon as you go to the website. We would love to see a big turnout for this convention, and our team is working so hard to plan an outstanding event. So we hope to see you there via Zoom. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Lauren. I'm going to step in and pretend to be Greg for a minute and let you know about some professional development opportunities that we have going. remember that CE courses are not just, you know, to maintain your licensure, but they really do make you better at what you do every day. We firmly believe that. And I know that all the local associations, especially MAR, believe that as well. So a few things to highlight. TREEF, the Tennessee Real Estate Education Foundation, has designed a new accredited broker course. This is for current licensed brokers, but mainly it focuses on newly licensed managing brokers. The course sets them up for success and understanding the role and responsibilities in which they are now working under. And it's also approved for 30 hours of CE. So if you're a new broker and need those additional hours, this is a class for you. Our TREEF scholarship was open to all Realtor member dependents graduating from high school this last year. And we did give 3 scholarships out there for the 2020-2021 academic year. We're excited about those 3 students and what they're going to be doing in the future. Our Academy for Real Estate Advancement, which is called AREA, has a class of 15 participants. Due to the virus, we decided to go ahead and halt their progress currently and bind them over to next year so they can have a full experience. And we're looking forward to having that class go through and graduate in our 2021 convention. The Master GRI has been moved online and is Arello certified for CE. It's available on our website at tnrealtors.com/education. The 2020 Law Manual is available for purchase from LexisNexis on our website as well. Last but not least, last year, NAR introduced the new Commitment to Excellence C2X program. So some of you I know have completed that and gotten your endorsement. If so, congratulations. I'm super proud of all of you who've made that commitment. If you have not done so yet, remember, this is a wonderful way to become an expert in several fields that are critical to our profession. C2EX.Realtor will take you to the initial assessment and guide you through the learning path to get your endorsement. That endorsement is free, and it does satisfy your code of ethics requirement through NAR. So that's C2EX.Realtor. All right, 10X 2021. Travis touched on this. It's our Tennessee Excel Summit, formerly our spring conference. It'll be held February 15th through the 17th at the Hilton, downtown Nashville. And again, the plans are dependent on the developments with the virus, but we are hopeful to be in person rather than virtual. We have a strong lineup of speakers, CE sessions, committee and business meetings, and a fun RPAC event downtown like we had last year. If you've not had the opportunities to participate in a statewide meeting, this will be a great opportunity to get down and meet some people and network and learn and also help build your business. You'll find more information on that again at tnrealtors.com/TNEX. So before I sign off, I want to go ahead and introduce our CEO, Angela Shields. Angela has been wonderful during this time of uncertainty, leading our staff while they've been remote. I want to brag on all of our staff on everything they've done to keep us moving during this time of uncertainty and no playbook for a pandemic in any of our policy and procedures manuals. I've been impressed with our state staff. I've been impressed with our local staffs and our local CEOs. So Katie, I know you're out there. Congratulations to you and your staff and supporting your board, and looking forward to seeing this year wind up really strong. Angela, share with us, please.
Thank you, Hagan, and it's great to be with everyone this morning. Thank you for having us. And, you know, like Hagan said, I don't think any of us saw the COVID-19 coming. It's been an interesting experience as we've all learned how to navigate in this uncertain time. One of the things that we were preparing for before COVID-19 came in is we were really looking at our international numbers and how we fit with the international market. Many of you knew that we were getting involved with the MIPIM program, which is a conference that takes place overseas. So we had partnered with the Department of Economic and Community Development and really started learning all about Tennessee and the international market. What I wanted to do is to really share with you some of the information that we learned, because it was really fascinating how much international activity Tennessee has. Tennessee is actually home to 967 foreign-based businesses, and they have invested $37.3 billion in capital and employ more than 147,000 Tennesseans. Now, it'll be interesting to watch how COVID-19 affects that number, but that's where we were prior to COVID-19. Tennessee works closely with many countries across the world. In particularly, we've been courting Japan, South Korea, China, Netherlands, Germany, Italy, and the United Kingdom. So we have a far reach and a lot of interest in our state. We've seen a lot of investment coming our way, and we all know that that has a direct impact on the commercial properties, and also it trickles down into our residential. So we'll continue to watch that as we emerge out of COVID-19 and track that, and we'll share that information. We had put together a really great presentation as we prepared for MIPM, and we'll make that available to you that you can use in your marketing. And as we prepare in the future, we'll continue to make that available for you. I'll move on. We did get a question that's in the Q&A that we have interest in our committee involvement at the state. And I'll tell you that our deadline to sign up for the committees was at the end of August. The team has just started to put together the preparations to start placing your positions and started to work on that. So if you do still have interest, if you will send us an email, we will put that in front of those that will be placing those positions and let them take a look at your email. So if you are interested, we would love to know of that interest so that we can put that in front of those that will be making those selections. So please send that to, you can send it directly to me. It's angela.shields@TennesseeRealtors.com. And then the other thing that I will tell you is please make sure that you're taking advantage of RPR. There is a lot of fascinating information about your area, about anything that you're looking at involving the demographics of your area. And normally when we come on these road shows, we would show you some really great information that you can look at as far as flight paths, as far as commercial demographics. So take advantage of that, because that is something that NAR is providing for you that is at no cost as your member benefit. In addition, I'd like to direct you to our COVID-19 page. I know that Memphis does a great job of everything that's going on locally and keeps you up to date, but please also take a look at what we have for you on our state page. We'll keep you up to date with what's going on statewide. So Hagen, that is all I think I have for you today. Katie, I want to correct the email address so that it says TN Realtors. I apologize for that. I did say Tennessee Realtors, but it's angela.shields@tnrealtors.com.
Thanks, Angela. I appreciate it. Well, I think the first time pretty much ever we've ended before our allotted time was over. I want to thank everyone for being with us today. I know this is everybody's busy. Memphis's market is rocking. I think it's great that you're all taking the time to learn more about what's going on, not only across your city, but across your state and across the U.S. So really fun day of learning, I think, for all of us. And congratulations on all the success that you all are seeing there. And Catherine, for your great year and your leadership during a really difficult time that none of us really knew what we were signing up for when it came to COVID-19. But I'm proud of Catherine and her leadership team. And I want to thank publicly Catherine, Kate, and Katie, all the versions of Catherine out there that helped bring us to you today. And that hit me today. I'm like, man, you all have the same name, but it's all different ways. But Thank you all for having us, and we look forward to what the rest of 2020 is going to look like.
Yeah, thank you so much, Hagen. And thank you all for being here and adjusting to this format. For those of you who don't know, Tennessee Realtors was doing their roadshow, and it just so happened they gave us the date that we already had slotted for this event. So it worked out perfectly that y'all were able to come on and be on this webinar with us to have hopefully more of an audience. And all the information that you gave us is so great. I signed up for the Broker Summit yesterday, so I'm really looking forward to that. We've been spotlighting our C2EX endorsees on our webpage to really try to promote that more. It's such great information, and I've been able to use so much of it in my own business. And even when you mentioned the Day on the Hill, it seems like a lifetime ago that we were at the C2EX, and like as soon as that was over, it's like the world ended. And so that was like our last really big function, but it was so great. And yeah, I also look forward to being able to be back in person for that. But you know, y'all's guidance has been great, and we really appreciate Angela, Hagen. You guys helping us lead the way. And all of this was so unprecedented. None of us really knew, but I think we've been able to do really well. Staff's been fantastic on our end as well. And I'm really just so grateful that they've been able to jump in, handle the situation, give our members what they need, and hear what else that it is that they need while also teleworking. I mean, we've been open this entire time, although it's been virtually, you know, and so we've still been able to provide services to our members without missing a beat on that. And everyone's been really patient with us while we adjust and navigate through all this and everything. But yeah, I do want to actually mention one other thing. You mentioned the Good Neighbor Award. We actually just revamped our Community Service Award to be more in line with the Good Neighbor Award from y'all's application process. So our awards committees is going to be starting to meet soon, so that hopefully we'll get some good Memphis members that have that would be good for our Good Neighbor Award that we can also send up to state and national. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. It sounds like that was the only question on the Q&A about committee signups. It doesn't sound like we have any more. I'm just going to double check real quick before y'all leave. Okay, no, it looks like that was everything. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And we have your email, Angela, in the corrected in the chat now. So if anybody wants to inquire about being on a committee, please email Angela and she'll get on that. So thanks for being here. And I appreciate it again. It's so good to see you guys. I've missed everybody. It's just really great to see everybody. So thanks. So while they're switching out here, we're going to be bringing in our RPAC update. We have Mars RPAC co-chairs, which is Amy Woods and Kelly Jones. They're going to be providing us with our local RPAC update from our RPAC-a-thon now that you've heard from national and state. We'll give them just a second to get in here. So if y'all have any questions, remember to put them in the chat for Amy and Kelly, and then we'll get to those after at the end. So let's just make sure Kelly's on here too. Okay, there you guys. Hey, ladies.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going good. It's going good.
That's my Oprah voice.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
No, I said that's my Oprah voice. How's it doing? Yeah. So, all right. I'll let you.
Oprah.
Yeah. Okay. You get a car. You get a car. Everybody gets a car. So, how's it going with RPAC?
It has been really, really great. I just wanted to highlight a few things before we touch on our RPAC-a-thon. So I don't, most of you probably know, but usually in our RPAC schedule of fundraising, we have quite a few live events. We have live events with RPAC, with YPN, and a few other committees and groups. We also have our live RPAC-a-thon, which is a big, huge gathering, and we usually have a major investor reception. So without pretty much any live events for fundraising purposes this year, we've actually done really, really well. We're sitting at a total of $104,900 of our $138,000 goal, so we're at like 76%. So 70% of the year is gone and we're at 76% of our goal. And that's incredible to think of in this kind of year. Something that's even better. So our totals for participation are sitting at about 43% for the entire year. So we've already surpassed our goals that NAR sends us, which is that 37%. And so we're approaching our own local goal because we up the ante every year because we do pretty well. So we're approaching our 48% goal for our local goal. So that's really great. We're sitting at about 27 major investors of our 40 of our goal, so about 67%. And for President's Club, we're at 7 of our goal of 8. So that's some really impressive numbers, seeing as that we've had the weirdest year in our existence. So I just want to congratulate all of our members on that. It's really shown a testament to all of the RPAC activity that we've done in years and years past, that RPAC participation and RPAC investment is now a part of our MAR culture. And that's really the goal, is making sure that you know, real estate professionals and real estate professional adjacent people understand the importance of RPAC and the importance of what those dollars go to. So, and two, I want to shout out YPN. YPN has really made RPAC a huge part of their own committee culture. And that's been a huge proponent, seeing young professionals be a part of the RPAC investment, and then the governmental affairs and what we're fighting for. So that's really great. And I also want to highlight as well that in the upcoming months, we'll have about 30 candidate interviews for all kinds of local and state campaigns and elections. So we're going to be really busy in governmental affairs, using the dollars that we're raising from RPAC in these activities and going to those candidates that support home ownership, private property rights, and all of that. So you'll be seeing about middle of October recommendations coming out for candidates, the slate of candidates that we are supporting. So everyone, also a big call to action for everybody that's listening. If you haven't done this already, go to your phones. Well, when this is over, or you can do it right now, go to your phones and type in Realtors with an S to 30644 so that you will get any important text alerts or call to actions for the state or local level, so that we can be heard on the state, national, and local level for any initiatives that are arising. It's a huge part of our reach out and participation, and it's really a way that we can show our numbers in what we say and what we bring to our legislators. So I'm gonna let Amy now take it away and talk about how we did at our RPAC-a-thon last week.
Good morning, y'all. So I want to just thank everyone for actually picking up the phone when we called last week. I know that many of you go, oh, it's RPAC-a-thon day, let's not answer that call. But we generated a stellar amount from credit card payments, checks received, invoices. Of course, we also had the RPAC silent auction. And so the total that I have for our day at RPAC-a-thon, and this does not include pledges and outstanding invoice, but thus far we have collected $11,525. Woohoo! Great job to all of our local realtors and associates. We do appreciate all of those investments because, as you know, every dollar makes a difference. And just to kind of give you some recount on the stats, we had 7 99er club members. So that's, you know, they invested $99. We had 3 Capital Club members, and that's a $250 investment. We had $6,000 in major investor contributions. And we want to thank those major investors. So Sue Ann Cobb, Farrah Captain, Keith Gilliam, Jason Woods, Thomas Murphy, Kevin Ruby, and Joe Steffner. So special thank you to everyone. Without you making those investments, we cannot do what we have to do, and we can't, we just wouldn't have the ear of our legislators without you guys. So we appreciate everything that you do. Anybody have any questions for us?
We do have a couple questions. So you mentioned a couple of the levels, but you didn't go into the levels for major investors. Would you maybe break down the levels that are available for through all of RPAC? I mean, you started at, is there anything below 99ers and the Capital Club, and then it goes up to major investors from there?
It does.
Or is there gold?
Yeah, so Kelly, if you have it in front of you, I know we've got Sterling R,
right,
which is $1,000. We've got
20. I think we have a lot of them that if you've never, above the major investor, there's a lot that's part of, like, you'll invest like $2,500 your first year, and you're at a certain level, and then to stay at that level, it's like $1,500. So there's a lot of levels like that, up to 25,000. But the major one that we were hitting for RPAC was that participation level. So for anyone that doesn't, that isn't participating, then they've maybe checked no on that participation level in their application. So it's $25 to participate, and at an entry level for RPAC, and then $99, and then $250, and then it's $500, and then it's a major investor at $1,000. And I'm getting that right now because you don't have it memorized.
It's Crystal R for $2,500, Golden R for $5,000, and then Platinum R for $10,000. Which I'm still waiting for someone from MAR to be our first Platinum R. I don't know. Maybe you're out there today and you want to drop down 10 grand. But there was a question in the chat about the deadline to invest. It's December 1st, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So that if you invest prior to December 1st, then you'll be counted towards 2020, and you'll get your little pin if you're a major investor, and then it starts all over again right after that.
Another note. A lot of people always think that when you pay your dues on MAR and you see that automated amount of $25, at the end of the year, if you do not specify, then that's going to roll over and count to 2021. So a lot of times we'll get the question, hey, I thought I already invested for last year. So if you have a question about it, reach out to Kelly, or myself, and we can let you know if you've already invested for the year.
Yeah. And also the President's Circle, that's a really wonderful opportunity too that goes along with it. So along with being in the President's Circle and all of that, there's like a special trip for that, where you're all invited to this one location, and there are like really, really incredible speakers that come, and it's just for President's Circle. So that all comes with your opportunity to invest at that level. So that's a really good benefit as well.
Yeah, and the President's Circle level allows you to invest and donate directly to candidates of your choosing. Right. So, and what is the how much is it to start at the President Cup level? Is it President's Circle? I say President's Cup because that's the other thing too, is that we part of texting realtors to 30364, which is in the chat, I hope I just quoted that correctly, is that it's part of our numbers as a state to 30644 to be for us to get President's Circle as or President's Cup as a state. So so I have a lot coming in here in the text, so let me just read this off to y'all. So you have to be a major investor, 2,000 above and beyond that specific campaigns. It's a lot of information. It's 2,000 directly to your preferred members of Congress and can be split multiple ways. So it sounds like it's due by, I don't know what that means, September 30th. So I don't know. I'm trying to follow the chat, but it's getting a little confusing. So I appreciate everyone being here, and it sounds like we fielded pretty much all the questions. If anybody does have any further questions about the investment levels and you want to up your donation, anything like that, then please get in touch with either Kelly or Amy or Ken Scroggs as our staff support at MAR. So thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate you guys, and thank you for all that you do. We really appreciate it. So with that, it sounds like we're going to move on to Luke Jensen, Luke is our 2020 MAR Commercial Council President. He's going to give us an update on all that's happening with our Commercial Council. And then after that, stay tuned. We're going to have David Waddell from Waddell Associates give us our market update. So how's it going, Luke?
Going well. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'll give you all a quick update on what's been going on with our Commercial Council. So throughout the year, we typically have 4 or 5 major events. This year, we've only been able to have one, which was our, we have a summit in February that we partner with ULI for. And so we were able to have that as scheduled. ULI has an economist that comes and speaks and does a great job. And then we had a local panel made up of Memphians, Steve Gwynn, Jennifer Oswald of the Downtown Memphis Commission, Jason Wexler, who works with the Grizzlies, and Paul Young, who works for the city. And Jeff Calkins hosted it for us, and it was a great event. But then in March, the world changed. And so since then, we've had to cancel our events. But we typically in April have our Pinnacle Awards, which is our producer awards. And so we were able to give out all the awards. Our Memphis Business Journal always does a section for us announcing the award winners, and that went out. And we were able to deliver all the physical awards, but we weren't able to have our typical award ceremony. Kim Conrad was our Broker of the Year, and Byard Snowden was our Hall of Fame inductee. So those are both great honors for those two guys. Typically in May, we have our Make-A-Wish tournament, golf tournament. We were not able to have it. We postponed it to September, but then ultimately canceled it. It was sad because this was going to be our 10th year. And we were hoping to be able to give them $90,000, which would take our 10-year total donation to Make-A-Wish to $500,000. But the good news is, even though we didn't have the tournament, we were still able to make a donation of $77,500 to Make-A-Wish, which is just crazy. Harold Moss runs the tournament for us and just does an incredible job. And he gave all of our sponsors the option to, not pay or wait till next year, and all of them said, they love the event and want to go ahead and donate. So we were able to do that, and they are able. I think the local chapter of Make-A-Wish, the Commercial Council in this golf tournament, is its largest supporter. So it was key to them, and our golf committee worked really hard to make that happen. And then finally, we had our election. We had 3 Commercial Council positions to fill, and we did so. Casey Flannery from Commercial Advisors, Owen Mercer from Commercial Advisors, and James McGraw from Avis and Young filled our vacancies. So we don't anticipate having any more events for the rest of the year. But I think we're moving towards kind of planning for 2021 to make sure that, assuming things progress well and we can start meeting back together, just to kind of make up for lost time in 2021. So it's been a somewhat disappointing year, but we've been able to do some cool things, and it's been good. And so our commercial council, I don't know if anyone on here, but thanks to everyone on the council for support, and Mar for the support of our other commercial side, and we look forward to the rest of the year and next year.
Thanks, Luke. Does anybody have any questions for Luke here in the commercial council? I know I didn't necessarily see anything in the chat, but I just want to make sure before we, but it doesn't look like it. But thank you so much for your leadership this year. We really appreciate everything that y'all do at Commercial Council, and commercial is a big part of what we are here at Mars. So we love having y'all. So all right, thanks so much, Luke, and we're gonna get David Waddell in here. This is gonna be really exciting. I'm looking forward to this economic update from him. If you have any questions for David as he goes along, put them in chat like we've been doing so far, and we'll get to those at the end of his segment as well. So. How's it going?
It's good. If I can. Can you hear me now? Am I all in this thing now?
We can hear you. We can see you.
And
yeah.
All right. Well, just so I'm clear, y'all are a little bit behind schedule. I've still got 15, 20 minutes to lecture on the macroeconomic microeconomic conditions. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing I like more than an opportunity to speak, especially to this group, because you all may not know this, but our firm has had a relationship with Mar for almost 25 years now. So this is, you love all your children equally, I know, yeah. But this is one of my favorite
That's what they say, they love all their children. But secretly, you love us more, we know.
Well, I mean, I can't say that publicly. So So this is a real honor for me. Thanks for letting me opine for a few minutes. There are two things that, in my judgment, will determine success today. One, that I give your members maybe a decoder ring to tell what's really going on out there, whether they should be optimistic or pessimistic. And then I'm going to bring it local to a certain extent, show you some of the Memphis statistics. You guys have a whole lot more housing statistics and information than I do, but I couldn't sort of resist pulling what I could out of the Fed's database. So let me go ahead and kick into that if that works for everybody. If you get a decoder ring and you leave feeling optimistic, if that looks like success, then stick around for the next 20 minutes. All right, I'm going to share a screen because people like me never do anything without a slide deck. So let me make sure that's working. All right, y'all see that? I'll just assume you do. All right, so this may feel like the weirdest recession of all, especially for realtors, because it's actually not been a recession at all for a lot of the economy, and I'm going to explain why. This is our disclaimer. There you go. All right. It's important to understand how we got to the moment that we're in right now. This is a chart that shows you the fastest drawdowns in stock market history, a 30% drop, how long it took to get there going back to 1900. And this was really the shock that hit the system, because the tech bubble took 360 days for the S&P to drop 30%. The Great Financial Crisis took 250 days. Black Monday took 38. The Great Depression took 31. COVID took 22 days. And that was an absolutely jarring experience, specifically for lawmakers and central bankers on Capitol Hill. And so that steep drop within the stock market, based upon the fear of what was to come from COVID, led the monetary system to create, or the Fed to create, the fastest monetary stimulus response in US history. As you know, they cut interest rates to 0 and have broadcasted that they may never raise them again. Additionally, they jacked up the printing press and they printed about $3 trillion in new money, which they used to buy securities, which was an astounding amount of liquidity dumped into the system, far greater than what we saw in terms of speed and even to sense degree since the Great Financial Crisis. So the fastest drawdown in stock market history created the fastest and largest monetary stimulus response in history. But the Fed wasn't alone. Congress got involved as well to help frame just how big the stimulus measures coming out of Congress have been so far. This chart goes back and says, okay, what'd they do during the Great Financial Crisis, right? Which was supposedly Depression 2.0. Well, they deployed a total of $2 trillion in stimulus, and they did it over a 600-day period, right? They did a little stimulus, then they did some more mortgage guarantees, then they did TARP, and ultimately Obama signed the ARRA Act. So 2 trillion, 600 days. This go round, well, we got to 3 trillion in 150 days, and there's a bill that passed in the House for another 3.5, and then in the Senate today, another 500 billion or so, and there's a wide gap there. But just assuming that we get another stimulus bill, and I think we will, and we need it, there's another $1 trillion to come. So we will have gotten twice as much stimulus during this period of time in a third of the amount of time. The largest fiscal response in history, the largest monetary response in history, in reaction to the fastest drawdown in stock market history. So the question should be asked, will all of this work? I mean, this is a huge response. Is it larger than the risk that COVID poses? Well, fortunately, this isn't our first pandemic. We can go back. Well, unfortunately, it's not our first pandemic, but we've got a data set that we can draw upon. So going back to 1900, there have actually been 4 of these pernicious little pandemics. The first, which I'm sure you've read about, was the Spanish flu. It killed off almost 3% of the entire population on the planet. 214 million people died. Then we had the Asian flu in 1957, which was particularly lethal, killed about 3 million people. By the way, I'm population adjusting all this stuff. So if you haven't seen these numbers before, it's because I've taken them to parity with where the global population is today so that we can properly judge where we are. 1968, we had another nasty flu that nobody remembers. In fact, Woodstock happened around that time, but 2.2 million people worldwide lost their lives. Then we had the swine flu in 2009, which also seems to escape people's memories. But at that time, 411,000 people died worldwide. It was very contagious. It just wasn't very lethal. I checked the numbers this morning. So far with COVID, about 1,900,000 worldwide have died. So that frames things. What's curious about this is to look at what happened to the stock markets during these periods and also to GDP growth during these periods. And each one of these periods over the infection cycle, GDP actually rose, okay? Up 10% in 1918, 2.5% in 57, 3% in 68, and then another 4% as we came out of the great financial crisis in 2009. So the economy survived. In terms of the stock market, just to put these numbers in perspective, in any given year, the stock market on average will sell off, call it 14% from its highest point. So there's always a drawdown in the market. And if you look at the drawdown we saw in 1918, it was 11%. That's sort of in range of average. 1957 was an outlier. We actually did have a bear market in 1957. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. During the Hong Kong flu, we were winding down Vietnam. The market was, selling off as a lot of support from fiscal and monetary authorities start to be withdrawn. Nonetheless, the market was down 16%, not a bear market. And then in 2009, I had to find some spot where the market had gone down, and it did about 11% during that period. So those are all basically within range except for the Asian flu. But if you look at the total return statistics for each one of these periods, they were all positive outside of 68. So the economy made it through, the stock market made it through. The most challenging environment was 1957. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So the Asian flu of 1957 did end up causing a recession and a bear market like the coronavirus. In the other instances, we didn't see a recession or we didn't see a bear market. So this is the only one that qualified the criteria of both a recession and a bear market. 1958, we did see a quarterly drawdown rate in GDP of about 10%. That was the largest we had seen since the Great Depression. It was consumer-led. People were self-quarantining, so it was voluntary quarantines. There weren't forced lockdowns. People were opting not to go out. Some schools and some districts were opting not to reopen. And so it was somewhat analogous, but it was a voluntary closure, not a mandated closure, which is what is different this time. We did get a vaccine. Once we got a vaccine, things did recover, but the vaccine was only 60% effective. Nonetheless, the animal spirits that were unlocked once the all clear sort of was sounded led to a GDP growth rate up near 9%. So it was a very robust recovery coming out of a pretty significant recession caused specifically by a pandemic. So I spent a lot of time looking into 1957 and 58, and I think it makes a really appropriate analog. And by the way, this recovery happened without government intervention. Okay? This happened without stimulus. So this was just a voluntary animal spirits recovery. Sun came out, people moved on, the pandemic was in the past. So here we are in 2020. I need to adjust these figures a little bit. GDP came out down 33%, a little bit better than the analysts had expected. But nonetheless, we saw a sharp drawdown in the first quarter and then the most significant drawdown in US history in the second quarter due to not only people opting out of some activity, but also the mandated closures from the government. And this is obviously not something that politicians can tolerate. And just to put this number into perspective, the economy is $20 trillion overall in the US. This is an annualized quarter over quarter number. The actual drawdown from the top, which would have been the fourth quarter, was about $2 trillion. So COVID cost us $2 trillion. If you're a politician, what are you going to do about it? Well, the Fed, like I showed you earlier, has done $3 trillion of quantitative easing to liquefy the system, throw as much money into the system as they can. They also underwrote $4 trillion worth of loans and securities. They've purchased ETFs in the junk bond market and in the investment grade market. So lots of liquidity support, lots of credit support coming out of the Fed. And as we saw earlier, the fiscal authorities have also deployed $3 trillion in fiscal stimulus. So we've got a $2 trillion problem and a $10 trillion response. Very different than what we saw in 1957. So here's where the analysts expect GDP to rise to coming out of this. Now, these numbers are antiquated as well. And the economic surprise statistics have been very high, meaning reality's come out a whole lot better than expectations. I don't know if y'all saw the mortgage filing statistics this morning, but I think they're at a record high right now. That includes refis, but it also includes new purchases. So the economic statistics have been off the charts, and I'll explain why. This number right here underestimates, I think, what the recovery will look like. Because if we go back to 57, without stimulus, we had a pretty sizable and robust economic recovery. Now we got 10 trillion in the system, as well as the recovery in confidence and animal spirits within the economy. And I looked at the Fed's site right before I came in, and they are now projecting that third quarter GDP growth won't be 20.7, which is what Morgan Stanley was predicting here. It'll be 30. And given the fact we went down 33 last time, a 30% recovery almost takes us back. Math isn't perfect, but closer to break even overall. So I think these numbers are underestimated. I think the economic results are going to be better than people anticipate going forward, because animal spirits historically lead the markets and the economy higher, but now you get all this stimulus in the system too. All right, so I'm going to bring it home, and I've got 6 minutes to do it. I went and looked at the things that were fundamental to the real estate marketplace in Memphis, Tennessee, and the most important thing, in my judgment, is not only to the economy, but also to housing prices, is what's going on with population. Okay? It's important to understand that the population in the United States of America, 330 million people, is really only growing at this point because of immigration, right? The population replacement ratio needs to be 2.1 per couple, 2.1 kids per couple. It's now like 1.5. So the domestic population really isn't growing. We need the immigration to do it. And that's why you see the national population growth rate trending down to 0.5% from a high back in 1990 of about 1.5%. So that's what's going on at the national level. In Memphis, this is pretty interesting. It's a noisier number because we're a smaller sample space. But you can see we basically trended around the national statistics until after the last recession, and then we collapsed from a population perspective. I don't know if that's because people ran off to Nashville. I haven't done that level of work. But what I do know is since about 2014, the Memphis population growth rate has actually been inching higher, while the national population growth rate has continued to decline. Now, the national growth rate is still higher, so it's nothing to celebrate yet, but the population trends in Memphis, Tennessee are improving, and that's supportive for real estate prices. And you know this, the 30-year mortgage rate yesterday was 3.06. And obviously, as the cost of ownership comes down, the ability to pay higher prices goes up, and we have seen that. So this is the all transaction house price index for Memphis, Tennessee, and you can see pretty steady upward, not a robust quick trend, but a nice upward trend into the great financial crisis. And then obviously we had a divot, but things have picked up significantly since then. And so we're at a record high, at least according to the Fed's database, in Memphis, Tennessee, in terms of average house prices. And we're 21% higher than we were back before the great financial crisis. This is Memphis house price growth versus the US. So here's the United States, and this is annualized change. So change versus a year ago. So since 2014, housing prices have grown about 5% annualized in the US. There's really been kind of a shortage of supply as the builders come back after the great financial crisis. That's supported it, but also the drawdown in interest rates has supported it as well. Here's Memphis versus those numbers. We didn't participate, as you all know better than most, really in what went on pre-financial crisis, and then we got hit with the financial crisis. We have been grinding back and recently have actually been outperforming the national average. And I went and looked at the inventory statistics and the days on the market. I think houses on average are lasting 48 days or something. I'm a victim of the inventory crisis. There was a house I was pretty interested in. It sold within 2 days. I didn't even get a chance to tour it, which is kind of irritating. So there's more demand than supply. There's lots of free money, and the population trends are actually improving in Memphis. So I think the future is bright for realtors right now, and certainly for real estate within Memphis. Obviously, inventory levels will come back, will overbuild. There'll be some problem somewhere out there in the future, but I don't see it today. I see this as a pretty good, seller kind of market, and one that realtors should, I think, find pretty supportive. So, bottom line, the COVID outbreak triggered the fastest stock market sell-off in history. The Dow fell 38% into March 23rd. It triggered the worst quarterly GDP drop in US history. We were down 33% on an annualized basis in the last quarter, which prompted absolutely unprecedented economic policy action. So monetary support of about 7 trillion, fiscal support of 3 trillion and counting. We'll see where that number goes. And that has mixed to lead to a record-breaking recovery pace, right? So the fastest stock market recovery in history. So the S&P is up about 50% since the low in March. And then we're seeing the highest economic surprise readings in history, meaning that the reality of the economic reports is well eclipsing the expectations for those numbers. And that continues to be the case. Expectations still haven't caught up yet to how good the reality has been so far. And what we're looking at in Q3, this number keeps rising. When I put this slide together about a week ago, the estimate was for a 25% gain in GDP in Q3. Now they're looking at potentially a 30% gain. That's the highest quarterly GDP growth rate we will have ever had in the United States of America. Now imagine if we had a vaccine. So there are 170 of these puppies in the trial phases. There are 3 or 4 towards the end. If you look at the fatality rates, it's coming down with remdesivir and some of the other things deployed. And so the animal spirits are going to come washing back. You've got all this stimulus in the system as well. You mix in with that a vaccine, and I think the future is pretty darn bright. So why does this feel like the best recession of all time? Because it's the weirdest, and there are plenty of people suffering, and a lot of that is because of the government mandates. Hopefully there's another stimulus that will help mollify those situations. But if you look at it from a macro sense, we'll sail right through. You look at it from a asset price perspective, I think we're going to make a lot of money, not only in the markets, but hopefully in housing as well. So with that, I will surrender the microphone and take any questions if there are any.
Thanks, David. Do we have any questions for David here? I didn't see anything in the chat. We did go ahead and put in the chat box to text bottom line to 40222 in order to get updates from David Waddell and Waddell Associates. Was I muted that whole time? Because I was just talking away. It said I was muted. So no, again, it sounds like we don't have any questions for you, David, but I appreciate you being here and doing this for us, because I always get so much out of it myself. So again, be sure to, in case you didn't hear me say this earlier and I was muted, in the chat box we did put to text bottom line to his handle at 40222. So, and you'll get updates from David. So again, thank you so much for being here, David. I really appreciate all your information and everything that you've been doing for us with MAR. It's been great. Again, I want to remind everybody that this webinar has been recorded and that it is on our YouTube page. So please go back and watch over that and share it with the agents in your office so that you can stay on top of what's going on with the market. Also, if you didn't get to see our webinar we did yesterday with April Childs Potter from the Greater Memphis Chamber. She does a great presentation too, and that's available as well. And again, David, thank you for hanging out to the end with us. We really appreciate it. Everyone, if you have not registered yet for MAR's annual meeting and election results live at the drive-in at Shelby Farms, that's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be in person. So go to mar.org to learn more and to register. And I really appreciate everyone being here today and participating and showing up. This has been fantastic, and I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. So thanks everyone for being here, and I think that's everything. I'm just going to double check to make sure. Okay, yes, that's everything from the chat. So, and thanks for bearing with me and my technical difficulties as always. So thanks.